Now, one of the biggest questions we as four-wheel drivers have before we start modifying our four-wheel drive is what size tyre should we run on our Pride and Joy? Now, are you going to run a set of 31s, a set of 33s, or even a massive set of 35s? Now, there's a lot of difference between all these different tyres, and today we're going to put these to the test, the ultimate test from the beach. Seems like the vehicle's picked up about 100 kilowatts. Look at this, yeah, on the soft sand. Holy heck. Down to the bush. That was not controlled. That was every little bit of horsepower I've got. Over a few days to test these tyres in all different manner of terrains and different conditions so you can decide what tyre is going to best suit your needs. So buckle up for the ultimate 31s versus 33s versus 35 tyre test, because I guarantee the results are going to shock you. We've gone as close to 31-inch, 3-inch and 35-inch tyres as possible. We know a lot of you at home will measure tyres not in imperial, so for your record, these tyres are 265 70-17s, 305 70-17s and 315 70-17s. We also know not every muddy or all-terrain tyre will perform the same, so we chose Goodyear Wrangler MTRs for all the tyres. They're the tyre I use on all my own four-wheel drives, and I was really interested to see if there's a huge difference throughout the range of sizes. Now, if you've got a modern IFS dual cab ute, typically you're not going to run a set of 35s. It won't even be in the question. You're going to be deciding between a set of 31s and a set of 33s. Likewise, if you've got a big 79 or a Patrol or something like that, a big live axle vehicle, your decision is going to be based around a set of 33s or set of 35s. And that's why I've chosen the particular tyres for each of the vehicles to test, because at the end of the day, we want to keep this test as relevant as possible. Now, the number one reason why we go for a bigger tyre is because we want to get further off-road and have more traction. Now, to get more traction, you're looking for a tyre with an aggressive tyre tread pattern and also a bigger footprint. We've got some paint and paper to show you the difference in tyre footprint between a 31, a 33 and of course a 35. All tyre pressures have been dropped to 20 psi as they would for four-wheel driving. You can see that the footprints are a little bit wider and a lot longer as you step up tyre size. Tyre footprint is a big factor for getting you further off-road. It's why tractors have that large rear wheel and tanks and excavators have full-length tracks. It helps with traction and stability. The bigger tyre footprint should help us off-road, but let's put it to the test to prove just how much. Now, the second reason why we put bigger tyres under our four-wheel drive is to improve the clearance underneath our four-wheel drive. Now, it's a misconception that by putting a suspension lift under your four-wheel drive, you're going to increase the clearance. This isn't true, because a suspension lift only lifts everything from the chassis up on your four-wheel drive. Now, it's going to improve your approach and departure angle and allow you to fit bigger tyres, but the only true way to increase the clearance on your four-wheel drive is to fit bigger tyres under it, because that'll increase the difference between the bottom of the diff and the ground clearance. But let's put it to the test to prove by just how much. A 2-inch increase in tyre size lifted our diffs by 1 inch. Although it doesn't sound like much, let's see how much difference that makes in the real world when we're out four-wheel driving. Here we go, just about to jump onto the beach with the 33s fitted. The first thing you can tell that low is lower in low range, which makes a lot of sense. And it seems like the vehicle's picked up about 100 kilowatts. Look at this, yeah, on the soft sand. Holy heck. It's effortlessly going through this soft sand. Look at it go. That's cool. If you want cheap horsepower, lower the size of your tyres. That's a big difference. Now for the 35s, let's see what difference they make on the beach. There we go, we're dropping down onto the beach with 35-inch tyres on. Now, far out. Look, I've gone to go for second gear, but I nearly got bogged right then. You can definitely tell a massive difference between the two sets of tyres. I mean, with the 33s, you had a lot more acceleration, a lot more power. You know, the engine spun those tyres easier. With the 35, they're a lot bigger tyre, and the rolling mass a lot heavier, a lot bigger, and it's a lot harder to spin. Even though this V8's got a lot of power, once you get going, they seem okay, but if you go to drive them like you did with 33s, you'll find yourself getting stuck a heck of a lot. One of the first things you're going to notice when you go up a size of tyres on the sand is you're going to notice there's a lot more tread on the sand. You've got a bigger footprint, therefore you should have more traction. Now that's pretty straightforward, but it really is a double-edged sword, because while you do have more traction, you've got a bigger rolling diameter and a lot more tyre to push. So firstly, you're going to need a lot more power out of your engine to push that tyre. One of the other things you do notice is your gear ratios are all different. So on the sand, I'm finding that where I was in first gear and then I'd go into second gear with a set of 33s, I can only really stay in first gear. As soon as I go to second gear, it's labouring real hard and it feels way more comfortable back in first gear high range. So unless you change your diff gears or your transfer gears, you're going to find that your speedo is also going to be out and you're going to labour a lot in low range. Now time to test the 31s and 33s on the beach. Once again, we noticed just how much more power we had with the smaller tyres, in particular at takeoff in soft sand. Because you're getting a smaller rolling mass moving, you can get the tyres rolling a lot faster. Check this out. Look how, with 31s on and less clearance, the Hilux rear diff smashed the GoPro we set up. When we put the Hilux back on 33s and drove the exact same line, it missed it. Diff and belly clearance is a huge limiting factor when driving in soft sand. When you're in ruts on the beach, your diffs often get hung up on the sand, which acts like an anchor, washing off all your momentum. That extra inch or more diff clearance will mean you'll get stuck a heck of a lot less. So, to sum up beach driving on different sized tyres, well, bigger tyres mean bigger footprint and better clearance, which will help a lot in really soft sand. However, smaller tyres will make takeoff better and you'll have more usable power. If it was up to me, I'd run 35s on the beach, especially when you've got the power in your four-wheel drive to handle the soft stuff. If you've got an old 1HZ or something similar, running smaller tyres will help you get bogged less. Righto, time to hit the tough stuff. And where else to test the tyres but the home of tough tracks, the Glasshouse Mountains. We've got a really technical little run with big ruts, rock steps and mud, so we can see how they perform. I just drove that little section with the 33s on. Definitely a little bit of scraping there. That little bit of clearance that I missed on the 33s compared to the 35s was definitely noticeable. Still made it through, but dragged the whole underbody through. You can see here how much extra clearance I've got. On some vehicles, that's the difference between getting through or getting stuck. The same with 31s and 33s. We scraped a lot more with the smaller tyres on. Big 35s do just, thing is they hide a lot of big ruts because they're such a big tyre, they take up a lot of room and they do make a lot of harder obstacles seem a lot easier. So you've got a lot of tyre on the ground. One of the things you notice going down the hills with the 33s is you've got such a lower first gear low range, so off-road the 33s, tell you what, they just seem to perform a lot better than the 35s. The 35s will run away from you a little bit more, changes all the gearing, and you're really evident when you're going down steep rock steps like these ones or coming straight back up a hill like that. Just the control you have with the right gearing and a four-wheel drive. Now, of course, you can change your gearing, but it is a big expense. You're going to be not getting much change out of a couple of grand. That's if you do the labour yourself as well. Big rock step and I've got 33-inch tyres on. Straight up. Oh, a little bit of scraping there. A little bit of scraping, a little bit of a wheel lift. Now, as you would have just seen, I've driven that with the 33s on with not too much issue. There was a couple of crashes and bangs, and those were basically clearance issues. Now, it doesn't seem like you're really going up a big tyre size when you go from 33s to 35s. You essentially get a 1-inch lift from your diff. So even though it's 2 inches on your tyre, it's only 1 inch on the actual diff clearance. And that lack of clearance has actually made me scrape. If you look at these rocks, you can see that I've had a good old scrape through here. Not so much of a clean drive. I reckon with the 35s on, I reckon I'll go up without even scratching one little bit of rock off. You can see the 35s have no trouble at all thanks to the clearance, and because you have more tyre in contact with the rock step at one time. Now, there's something to also be said about having just the right set of tyres. I mean, 33s or 35s, gives them a quality set of tyres, heaps of grip, It does make short work of a lot of tracks like this. Yeah, as you can see there, he's had a couple of bites at this, and just going down an inch in tyre size meant that clearance has dropped right down. Makes it very, very difficult to drive. You're scraping all of the chassis here and suspension components, diffs, and hitting rocks. We had to take a different line on the 31s. No chance of getting up the other side. However, look at the traction and clearance with the 33s. The Hilux scrambles up the harder line relatively easily. So up in front we've got a little bog hole, and it looks really, really sticky. I've got the 33s on now. I'm going to give it as much as I can. I'm going to send it through. Hopefully momentum will carry me through. The issue I've got, of course, is clearance. I'm missing an inch underneath that diff, and that's where you're going to get caught up on these vehicles, especially under the leaf packs and up on the rear diff there. So anyway, I'm going to give it a go, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully momentum will be my best friend. All right, let's give it a go. Not even. Got through, but it took a little bit to get through that one. Couple of back and forths, and just made it through. Holy heck. I'll tell you what, if I wasn't at that many RPM, I don't think I would have made it through. That was not controlled. That was every little bit of horsepower I've got. Now for the 35s, let's see what difference they make. 35s, give it a red hot go. You can see the 35s give me that extra clearance and bigger tyre footprint. It's clear how much easier it was to get through that mud. Now it's time for the Hilux. Now this is a very challenging mud hole, and you can see the 31s weren't up to the task. No clearance, and because the bottom is soft, the traction just simply isn't there. The 33s, geez, he was so close to getting out of that. They were considerably better. Well, this is a pretty good example where even 1 inch can make all the difference. I mean, these have got 33s on it. I just made it through with the 35s, and he's almost made it through with the 33s. Like, we're talking another 5 mil, he probably would have made that, but it's just hung up a little bit of lack of clearance, and man, he's almost made that. It's a pretty good example where the 35s just trumped the 33s. But we'll get a strap and pull him about, maybe a foot, and he'll be straight out of this. Off-road is where the bigger tyre size takes over. The extra clearance, extra footprint will 100% get you further off-road. However, it's important to remember the gearing of your four-wheel drive. The bigger the tyre, the faster it'll crawl, the less control you'll have. But overall, if you want to drive harder tracks, run a bigger tyre. It's that simple. There's no doubt about it, when we decide to upgrade our tyres, it's usually because we've got off-road in mind. But the harsh reality is that 90% of us are going to use our four-wheel drives for a daily driver as well. That means a lot of tarmac kilometres. Now right here we've set up a slalom test, so we've got 4 cones situated at 20 metres apart. Now the aim is to get both four-wheel drives to 60 k's an hour through that slalom to test on-road handling and the effects bigger tyre makes on the tarmac. Go. Go. 33's on, straight through. Tell you what, slightly better handling than the 35s. It just feels like a lighter rig all round and handles definitely better. I found I could keep my speed more consistent through the slalom with smaller tyres. You got a lower centre of gravity and less roll through the tyres themselves. Same with 31s versus 33s. The control you have on-road with the smaller tyre is much more. Here's something you probably don't think about when fitting tyres. What it does to the performance of your four-wheel drive in terms of braking, takeoff, and of course acceleration, fuel economy and more.
We're going to get the vehicles up to 80 k's an hour and brake at these markers. We'll mark where they stopped with cones and see how that compares to bigger tyres.
80 k's an hour. Oh, there we go. That's actually better than I thought. Not about. Had a bit of a brake upgrade, of course, on this vehicle, but it's not too bad as a 20 metre marker. I reckon, yeah, happy with that with 35s on. There we go with that. That stopped well inside that 20 metres. That's way different from the 35s. The braking, far out. That makes sense, doesn't it? But it's good to put it into practice and actually test this properly. It's taken 15.5 metres to stop. That's a huge difference.
The same goes with 31s. They pulled the Hilux up a fair bit shorter than 33s. Why do bigger tyres make it harder to stop? Think of a skateboard wheel spinning as fast as it can and a tyre like this spinning as fast as it can. Now try and stop both of them with your hand. The more rolling mass, as in the bigger the tyre, the more force you need to slow it down. There's no doubt smaller tyres make your four-wheel drive handle better and safer on the bitumen. We tested this on dirt roads and found the smaller tyre gives you more control, but the bigger tyres smooth out corrugations more. Now let's take a look at performance. Firstly, at takeoff. Like the brakes, a higher rolling mass is harder to stop and also harder to get going again. Bigger tyres will make our four-wheel drive slower off the mark, and here's what the difference is between 33s and 35s when tuning a four-wheel drive. We spoke to the tuning experts Ultimate Diesel Tuning, who tuned my 79. They reckon the difference between stock size tyres up to 33s or 35s can be somewhere between 5 to 10% at the wheels. Obviously your engine will put out the same amount of power, but the loss you'll get through your drivetrain will be huge. And you'll certainly notice that when you're driving.
Now, it's important to note that we said before you couldn't really run 35s on a Hilux like this or any modern dual cab ute. Now, you technically can, but have a think about the cost of modifying the vehicle to fit the 35s on properly. Firstly, well, you'd have to cut the guards a little bit. So you're up for a little bit of panel beating. You have to modify the bar work. We're looking at about a 4-inch lift, probably a 2-inch body lift. You have to change the diff gears or the transfer gears. That's a few grand on its own. So basically what I'm getting at, there's about, not to mention engineering, mind you, we're over $10,000 with price bill. We haven't even bought the tyres yet. So really think long and hard whether that inch of clearance or 2 inches of clearance is going to make it worth forking out for a set of 35s.
Stepping up a tyre size will cost you about $50 to $70 a tyre, but it's the extra cost in modification to your four-wheel drive that'll catch you out. Some four-wheel drives might need chopping in the guard to fit bigger tyres too. This might be as little as cutting a bit of plastic or major panel beating work. If fitting them means major work, we recommend going back a tyre size. Also, running bigger tyres means you might need to run a bigger offset rim to fit the tyres. The bigger offset you have, you're putting a lot more pressure on your wheel bearings, which can cause them to wear out a lot faster. We can't mention a video about tyre size without mentioning legalities. Please check your state's regulations before you fit any size tyre and make sure you follow the correct procedures to ensure your four-wheel drive is legal.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm absolutely filthy. Both trucks are covered in mud, and that means we've done our job well. We can give it a big tick because we've tested these tyres in every type of four-wheel drive condition known to four-wheel drivers, from the soft sand on the beach of Bribey Island to the mud down in the Glasshouse Mountains, rock steps, big ruts. I'll tell you what, dirt roads, highway terrains, we've done everything. Slalom tests to see how the vehicles handle and how they're affected by bigger size tyres, and also brake tests. I'll tell you what, this has been a very, very comprehensive tyre test. And the results, well, I guess they're pretty insane, and I didn't really see this coming. There's no doubt about it, and this is quite obvious when you think about it. When you go up in tyre size, it improves your off-road ability. We all know that. But of course it comes at a massive cost. And to fit the bigger tyres that you probably are dreaming of right now, you got to think of things like your suspension lift, maybe cutting the guards, changing your diff gear ratios or your transfer gear ratios, and probably engineering. That adds together to be a massive cost, and we haven't even factored in the cost of getting your brand new rubber. Without a doubt, the sweet spot on this test, I mean the spot where it's not going to really break your bank and you're going to be able to experience 99% of Australia, is going to be a couple of inches of lift and a couple of inches of tyre lift. Now that is going to get you, with a Hilux, 2 inches of lift and a set of 33s. Now, when you're looking at a set of 35-inch tyres, no doubt they fit quite easily on the 79s. That's quite an easy one, you don't have to modify too much. With the dual cab ute market, set of 35s, well, it's sort of out of the question. I don't think it's really something you should even consider, to be honest with you, because it's really going to affect your on-road handling, and to try and get those engineered is going to be an absolute nightmare. So there you go, folks. This has been one of the most comprehensive tyre tests I've ever been involved in. I hope you guys agree. In the comments below, I really want to find out what you drive and what size tyres you're currently running, and what sort of modifications you did to get those tyres on. Maybe you're thinking about upgrading your tyres. Let us know what you think down below, because we're really keen to hear from you guys. Make sure you spend 3 seconds and click that subscribe button and subscribe to the best four-wheel driving channel on YouTube. This is where you're going to see the best four-wheel driving content 24/7, from tyre tests like this to epic trips right around the country. I'll tell you what, that's enough from me. I'll see you next time out in the bush.